All right, we are back again. This time, guided practice, lesson 10, page 98. We're going to go in two parts for this. This first video will be the reading with the close reading, and then the multiple choice questions, and then we'll do a separate video for the writing piece. Just so we can chunk it up and split it up that way. So let's begin. They're asking us to read the text here, use the study buddy, our friend here, and the close reading to guide what we're doing. So this is called The Evolution of the Guitar. The genre is historical fiction. And our study buddy is telling us that authors use words with connotative meaning to show how they feel about a topic. As I read, I'll look for words that suggest the author's feelings about guitars. So this is The Evolution of Guitar by Pat Frizzell. Guitars are dynamic, evolving instruments. Today, guitars are flat-bodied wonders with fretted necks and 6 strings. Frets are metal pieces cut into the neck at specific intervals. By pressing a string down onto a fret, guitarists change the string's length. This changes its tone when it vibrates. Perfect. So the explanation really here is just answering the question of how a guitar or how a guitarist makes a guitar string change its tone. They press that string down onto the fret, cut into the guitar's neck, and that action changes the string's length and tone. So that's how in that first paragraph we learn about how the guitar tone is changed. Let's read 2. The guitar has a rich history that dates back to ancient times, but the first instruments that modern audiences recognize as guitars developed in the 15th century. They arrived in Spain from northern Africa. Initially, some had only 4 strings and were much smaller than guitars today. Guitars were all acoustic, that is, their melodic sound was made from string vibrations in their hollow bodies. People used them to accompany songs and poetry. So let's do a bit of a comprehension check here. So how did the 15th century guitars differ from today's? We learn here that early century guitars were had only 4 strings as opposed to the 6-string guitars of today. They were also much smaller and were acoustic, while a lot of guitars today have the electric option. And these came over originally from Spain and North Africa. Acoustic guitars, paragraph 3, delight the ears, but are not very loud. By the 20th century, they were often drowned out by trumpets, pianos, and even singers. Few could actually hear them. This changed in the 1920s when Lloyd Loar designed the first magnetic pickup, which could amplify the acoustic guitar strings vibrations, which could capture the acoustic guitar strings vibrations and amplify them electronically through speakers. A guitar could now hold its own with louder instruments. This was the birth of the electric guitar. So again, let's go back. So why was Lloyd Loar's invention of the magnetic pickup important? And we get that from paragraph 4. The magnetic pickup amplified the sound of guitar strings vibrations and sent them through a speaker, making the sound louder. Let's go on to 5. Now, guitarists can either amplify their acoustic hollow-bodied guitars with pickups or play solid-body electric guitars. The ways guitars sound and even how they are built continue to develop in fascinating ways. All right, so the close reading here is asking us, what does the context suggest about the meaning of the phrase drowned out as it is used in paragraph 3? So let's go back to paragraph 3. We see here, acoustic delights the ear but was not very loud. By the 20th century, they were often drowned out by trumpets, pianos, and even singers. And then few could actually hear them. So I would say that based on the context of paragraph 3, the meaning of the phrase drowned out is going to do meaning that it couldn't be heard. It was something that kind of was dim or lessened, and every other sound overwhelmed it. So it was drowned out, meaning it was playing, but it couldn't be heard. It couldn't be experienced because singers, pianos, and trumpets were over it. So again, if you think about someone that is, it's kind of morbid, but someone or something that is drowning, it's slipping from view, it can't be seen, it can't be heard. And that's what the acoustic guitars were experiencing before the invention of the first magnetic pickup. So the drowning out there is just referring to not being able to be seen or heard because the trumpets, pianos, and singers were a lot louder than they were. So let's go to the second close reading. What does a magnetic pickup do to the sound of a guitar? Circle the sentences that explain this technical term. So right here, we've got the magnetic pickup, and as for what it does, when we investigate paragraph 4, we see that it could capture the acoustic guitar string vibrations and amplify them electronically through speakers. And with that, a guitar can now hold its own with louder instruments. So that whole statement right here, capturing the acoustic guitar's vibrations and making it an instrument now that can hold its own, is going to be what here is going to be the sentences that explain the technical term of the magnetic pickup. So that's what we've got for page 98. Let's slide over to page 99. So now we are looking at the multiple choice pieces of lesson 10, page 99, guided practice. So they're asking us to use the hints on this page to help us answer the questions. Number 1 says, which words from the account have positive connotations? So again, the hint here says which choice contains words that show the author's personal feelings about guitar. So let's go through these. Option A, fretted, acoustic, vibrations, amplify. I would say those don't really have any sort of feeling attached to them. They just seem to be terms that you would use to talk about guitars. The fretting is what's on a guitar. Acoustic describes the sound of the guitar, vibrations, and amplify. So none of those really seem to have any feeling words connected to them, so we could get rid of that. Let's look at B, evolving, specific, modern, solid. These are adjectives, they're describing words, but they don't really have any connotation. Something that things can evolve, they can be specific, they can be modern, and they can be solid, but they seem to have a neutral connotation. Let's leave it open and go on to see. We have wonders, rich, delight, fascinating. What catches my eye immediately is the word delight, just because I know if something delights you, or if you're delighted by something, it makes you happy. So that definitely has an option as well. Let's look at D. Ancient, smaller, hollow, louder. So something is ancient is going to be really old. Smaller, when you're comparing to sizes of guitar, seems probably not the best. The hollow instrument made it softer, and louder. If we go back to that original illustration about with that girl with her hands over her ears, louder is not necessarily always going to be a positive thing. It can kind of go either way. So I would say those are going to have, especially when I think of words like ancient, not necessarily the most positive connotation. And if I'm looking at between B and C, again, going back to delight and fascinating, typically when we're describing something as fascinating, it's something that we are intrigued by, we want to know more about. So I feel like B is not going to work and C will be our strongest option here. Let's go ahead and look at number 2. What does the author mean when he writes that guitars were often drowned out by singers and other instruments? And then it says, look for clues before and after this phrase in the text that help you understand its figurative meaning. So if we go back to page 98, we circled it in the text, and we know before that that the acoustic guitars were not very loud. And then, so that's before our statement. Then if we go right back after our statement, few could actually hear them. So we have this theme here of not very loud and not being able to be heard. So let's look at our options and see what we've got. We have option A. There was a chance that guitars would be replaced by other instruments. It doesn't really seem to have anything to do with sound, whether things could be heard or not heard. So I'm going to go ahead and say that that doesn't work as an option for us. B, the moisture in a hollow-bodied guitar kept it from being loud enough. Again, when our hint is going back to ask us to look for clues before and after the phrase, when we look back at our text here, the not very loud and few could actually hear them don't have any mention of moisture levels in the hollow body of the guitar. So I'm going to go ahead and say that that doesn't work either. Let's look at option C. It was difficult to hear acoustic guitars over other instruments and voices. This definitely has potential because it goes back to the not being very loud and few could actually hear them from our previous page. So that's got a strong possibility as well. And here, let's look at D. Other instruments were becoming more popular than the acoustic guitar. So again, when we are looking at the clues, the context clues in the text, we don't really have any mention in the text of popularity. So that's not going to work. So again, for both of these, C is going to be the answer that works best. Again, I'm going to stop this video here and we'll have a part 2 where we go through the writing piece together. All right, see you in the next one.